Hey, everybody. I see Eric is on here. Eric, I thought you were traveling. Glad to have you.
Hey there, Yodio?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. And we'll just going to flash up a note well here.
So, quick question about our schedule. I haven't actually reviewed it recently. Are we doing this next week as well?
Yeah, we had said weekly for September.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, that's why don't we come to that? I'll flash up the note well. I think I'm going to share the right thing. There we go. Share my screen. Entire screen. Now you folks see the note well. Reminder, this is official IETF meeting, so just like when we participate in person or during any of the other IETF meetings, let's all remember our participation policies and everything that we state and produce here is recorded. Okay, I'm going to go back to the infinite zoom and unshare my screen. Okay, and as far as an agenda today, we are continuing with our live editing, walking through issues, resolving them. Ted, did you want to be sharing your screen as typical for these, or did you want to go with a different approach this time?
Probably sharing my screen works. We'll see.
Okay. And I'll drop in the chat just in case anyone needs it. Current issues list link. And yes, Ted, share screen. And just as that's coming up, I think there's been significant comments, reviews, suggestions on the issues right up to now. So that's good. I'm glad to see the meeting is having its intended effect and getting conversation and issues resolved. Okay, oops. Head screen disappeared. I think he'll come back shortly.
Yeah, I see that is also kind of lightly rendered on my screen, whatever that means.
I guess he gets offline and then come back again now.
Yep. Okay. Now it's back to normal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just missed the wrong window. Okay, so where should we start?
I'd be inclined to start at the bottom of.
So it looks like there are some conflicts on this one.
Okay.
Did we discuss this? So unfortunately, my stack is, or my cache is completely blown on what we discussed in
This
Madrid,
is
as usual.
yeah, just waiting for the screen to resolve the resolution. Issue number. What's the issue number on this one, Ted?
So this is the pull request. Should we do issues first?
Oh, sorry. This is the pull request. Okay, no, let's go to pull requests and we'll get those out of the way. That's easier. There's only 8 of those.
Yeah, it's 96.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this one is like probably fine. I'm not sure that it's the last word on this because I commented on this that
Yeah.
that the sort of the usual current use case for SNAC routers is that you would actually see both SNAC routers routing to the same stub network. And given that we actually talk a lot about that use case in this document, I think it makes sense to actually have people start off with the assumption that that's going to be the more normal use case. And then, of course, it's possible that that we'll have also, like, it's this arrangement is certainly possible, and we need to make sure that we don't, exclude it. But I don't think it's really the most likely use case.
And by this arrangement, you mean the so it shows 2 cases, right? One where there's 2 SNAC routers on one stub network and one where there's a single SNAC router.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. There's a
What am I
shadow
missing?
effect.
At the shadow box, maybe it's not
Yeah,
clear.
the 2 SNAC routers there at the left.
Yeah, I don't think there's a, unless I'm missing something. There's only the second use case.
Yeah, the
This is
left
correct.
one
Let
has
me
two
double check.
SNAC routers on one stub network.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And the right one,
Yeah,
single.
that's
Yeah. Okay, so
probably,
text to clarify that.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. So, I mean, this needs to be tweaked anyway before it can be merged. So I can sort of do that now. If people want to wait, it will be very boring. Or-
I can do that in the background, Ted, if you want to.
okay. Why don't you go
if you
ahead and
wanna
do that
continue.
then? So I would encourage you, when you're working on this in the background, to tweak this diagram slightly so that it's clear that
Yeah.
there are 2 SNAC routers here, because that was
100%,
totally. I just thought that was like a typo. Like it looked like
Okay.
there was like
A
something
shadow.
going around to the stub network, and yeah. So I think
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll
And we
call
should
that
also
out.
have, where these networks connect, there should be a plus sign in the box so that it's clear that the box is connecting.
Where the networks connect.
So see, like here, there should be a plus sign there so that it's clear that that's connecting to this line.
Ah, understood. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So
Work on
I
that.
will let you work on that, and we will go back to pull requests. The next one is the first draft of NAT64. So I will say, like, so I have an outstanding task, which is about, I actually started it an hour ago. That's one of the good things about these meetings. It gets me to get stuff done. So I'm slightly embarrassed about that, but not super embarrassed. I'm about halfway through that state, the RA state machine, and we need that for this. So I would suggest that we not dig into this right now unless somebody wants to. I'm hearing silence, so I'm assuming that's a no. Okay, so so then this is a bit of a can of worms. Well, actually, the can of worms is maybe not here. Oh, right. There's an issue as well that's relating to this. So in the pull request, I just commented that for the constrained SNAC router use case, we can't necessarily do the ideal thing. So the current proposed change is to say, oh yeah, so we were talking about whether configuring these, like what should the automatic behavior be? And what this text says is basically that the automatic behavior should be that only specific routes should be advertised and not a default route. The problem with that is that means that you can't reach the internet. And if we want devices on the Stub network to be able to reach the internet, we have to advertise a default route, assuming we have one. And so I think that what this text should say is not that well, okay, so it's saying that they should be configurable to not advertise themselves as default routers, but instead advertise specific routes. So actually, I think it makes more sense if we're going to cover this one to go to the issue tracker discussion.
Yeah, there's already an issue, two issues for that.
Two.
So it's 139 and 115 basically for that.
Okay.
139 is one I created. It's more general, like saying, okay, do we actually need or want to resolve this multi-AIL case in SNAC simple or not?
Right.
And if we do want to resolve it, I think there is a better way to do it than what's written here in the pull request, which is basically saying, okay, you have to manually configure it in that case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
which is a bit of a problem, actually.
Yeah, I semi agree with you about that, but I thought about this a bit as well, as you probably are aware. So basically, what you were saying is let's just have the SNAC routers monitor the presence of other SNAC routers on the Stub network, and also monitor the presence of SNAC routers on the AIL. And if the numbers disagree, then go into this sort of multi-AIL mode. And then it's going to advertise the more specific routes. But the problem with that is actually it doesn't really, there's not really the primary benefit to advertise to not advertising the more, well, there isn't really any benefit on a let's say the Stub network is a Wi-Fi network. There's really no benefit to not advertising the more specific routes always, right? Like there isn't a downside to that. Like it's not a constrained network. The reason that we dig into this is because Thread is a constrained network, and that's our primary use case right now. And on Thread, advertising a list of like many routes is actually just not sustainable, right? It just like that doesn't work. So so if we want to solve this problem for Thread, then I mean, we went through a huge long discussion about this in the Thread group, and ultimately we concluded that we couldn't. And so we didn't. But your point about multi-AIL is good. The only thing is that I think that this algorithm is a bit sketchy. I'm afraid that it's going to produce cyclical behavior, which I think we don't want.
Yeah,
so
also suggested to come up with a better proposal if there are any, and if there are not, we couldn't decide to postpone that to SNAC complex or later even.
Yeah, so where I came down on this is that I think for the Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi SNAC case. So basically, if it's not a constrained use case and we're just using router advertisements on the stub network, just advertise everything. But there is one issue, which is that we're probably only advertising one GUA on the stub network because we don't really want to advertise like multiple GUAs. There's no reason to it. In fact, the current way that we're specifying things says that we don't. So if we get
there are more SNAC routers, right? So one SNAC router follows the rules and picks a GUA, for example, and the other SNAC router on the other side has a different AIL and might pick another GUA or maybe a EULA.
Right, but
That could happen.
we actually don't allow for that, right? Like that's not supposed to happen. If there's more than one GUA, like if there's if you have even in the case where there's a two stub routers on the same stub network, two stub routers on the same AIL, two SNAC routers on the same AIL, both of them are going to try to do prefix delegations if they start up at the same time. So they'll both get a GUA, and they'll both, in principle, advertise it on the stub network. But one of them should withdraw the GUA that it advertises on the stub network if that happens, because we don't really want there to be two GUA prefixes advertised on the stub network. So now if we're assuming that that's what happens when the stub routers are all, when the SNAC routers are all connected to the same AIL, now imagine the case where you've got one SNAC router connected to one AIL and another SNAC router connected to a different AIL, both of which do router advertisements. In that scenario, the same behavior is going to happen on the stub network. Only one GUA prefix is going to win. So we'll only have one GUA prefix on the stub network. So what I'm proposing here is that whichever router is advertising the GUA prefix on the stub network should also advertise a default route. And the router that's not advertising a GUA prefix on the stub network should only advertise a default route if the GUA prefix that it sees on the stub network is one that it could route. Like that it's a source address that it knows how to route. So in other words, basically BCP38, right? If this is recognized as a local address, then yeah, by all means advertise a default route. But if it's not recognized as a local address, don't advertise a default route, because we can't guarantee delivery of packets sourced from that address through our egress router. That makes sense?
Okay, yeah, it does, I think.
Okay. All right.
Just
So
trying to look up that text what you were mentioning, that only one GUA or
yeah.
prefix gets basically published on the stub
Right.
network.
So one of the realizations that we had recently about the document is that we have a state machine for managing the prefix on the AIL, but we don't actually have a state machine for managing the prefix on the stub network. Instead, we just refer back to managing the prefix on the AIL. But the two use cases are actually slightly different. So I think we actually need another state machine, which is the AIL, sorry, the stub network addressing AIL. And if it's going to do the same thing that we currently do in Thread, which I think is probably the safest thing to do, that's what I just described, which is only advertise one GUA. Because if you advertise two, first of all, if both of the GUAs are essentially subsets of the same /48 that you got from your ISP, there's no benefit to advertising two of them. It's just wasting. You now have extra addresses you don't need. And if they're on separate AILs, then figuring out which egress router to use becomes difficult. And so, and because we already have sort of the logic of don't advertise two if there's, don't advertise the second one if there's already one there. Presumably, even in the multi-AIL case, that would still hold. And if that's true, then the behavior I'm describing here would work.
Okay, do we have a specific section where that kind of requirement is now specified, or?
Which requirement?
Yeah, that's basically the on the stub network, it should check if there's already a prefix there, and if there already is, then don't advertise the on-mesh prefix or the on-stub prefix. Yeah, I can also take a look later to see if that's already in. I didn't find it yet.
Yeah, I think it's quite possible that we didn't actually get that. We didn't actually capture that.
Yeah,
So-
they say about being technology dependent, kind of. I'm just wondering for the Wi-Fi case, would that mean, okay, you can have multiple access points as well if you're in a mesh type network, right?
Mhm.
For the, let's say, the simple topology of the star, then you would not even be able to have multiple SNAC routers, or can you have that as well?
Sorry, I didn't follow that.
Yeah, I was just wondering for Wi-Fi, do we always have one, basically SNAC router for one Wi-Fi stub network if it's a single SSID, or could there be more?
I think we're sort of notionally assuming that there could be more.
You're right. Right.
You know, basically, so actually it kind of simplifies out, right? If there's only one SNAC router per Wi-Fi stub network, then most of the stuff we just talked about is irrelevant anyway, right? We're never going to have two prefixes, we're never, all that stuff. So what we're talking about here is the case where, for whatever reason, we do have it set up so that the stub routers are connected to the same, sorry, the SNAC routers have the same stub network, are serving the same stub network. And right now, the only use case that we know about for that is Thread, but I mean, it could be that the downstream network is a Wi-Fi network, as you say. That's you know, we're providing you know, multiple access points, or it could be a case where you know, the downstream network is like Ethernet or something, and then you know, it's a shared medium. So it kind of makes sense that this, you know, if you've got to plug the sub router into something, and it's probably going to be the same something. So.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's the Wi-Fi case. But then if you look at the sort of constrained case, Thread being the example, we already concluded that we can't really solve this problem well. Like we can't advertise all of the routes that we would need to advertise in order to make this work in all cases. And so in Thread, we kind of punted on the multi-AIL use case. We just sort of don't solve that problem. And what that means is, I mean, not only do we not solve that problem, but if it happens, we might just do something that's incorrect, or sort of incorrect. So for example, let's say we've got multiple AILs, none of them support IPv6, and thread border routers are connected to those multiple AILs. We're going to advertise the same prefix on both of those AILs. And that means that on the stub network, we have no way to tell which egress router to use to get to a particular address on that prefix, other than whichever router turned out to be the one that sent the originating packet to us, which I don't think we can count on. So that just kind of doesn't work. And so, yeah, if we want to solve that problem, the conclusion that I wrote here in the issue is that I think we actually need a new document that talks about that specific use case. And you know, certainly for the thread use case, in order to make this work, we kind of need the routers to communicate with each other about what prefixes are reachable, you know, for each router.
Yeah, I think that depends on the kind of how would you say that, completeness of the solution. So if you want a quick fix that works for like a certain percent of the cases, like maybe 80%, then you can do something simple. And if you want to solve more possible cases, then you probably need more sophisticated solutions as well.
Yeah, but so the quick fix that you're describing would be basically that each router would advertise possibly a default route, and then a route to ULA, and also a route to a GUA. So that's starting to really add up. So if
Yeah.
you've got like,
So the default route is pretty, let's say, low on overhead, I think.
Yeah.
There is even in thread, well, or at least there was this way to indicate that with a single bit as well.
Mhm.
I think we deprecated this at some point, but the nodes or clients still take it into account, I think. But anyway, we have a new way to do that, also with not too much overhead. And the idea is that you can, if you have, for example, second AIL, you can add the onlink prefix of that second AIL. Basically, you can add to the network data. So that's the overhead of a single prefix then. And what you get is basically a routability to and from the devices that are on that link with that specific prefix used for SLAC. You cannot route beyond that link, so it's kind of a really, yeah, you could say, simple, simple solution that might not be sufficient because you can't talk with other networks that are connected via that second AIL, only to nodes that are on the second AIL, which could be already kind of a, yeah, good
But
enough
even
use case for the home, I think. But maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's
now,
not.
even in the case that you just described, if the home is IPv4 only, we're advertising the same prefix on both AILs, and so that wouldn't help.
Yeah, you mean it would be the thread extended pan ID based prefix
Yep.
instead of a random prefix for the thread case.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Then you also need to do something else. So anyway, you need to kind of know, like, hey, I'm a second AIL, and for that you need some simple decision criteria. But I think it can also be wrong at times. So it's just a matter of how good you want to solve the problem and for what scope exactly.
well, yeah, the problem that I'm suggesting that there probably aren't any, like any simple solution that we come up with here is probably going to address a small percentage of all use cases and is going to behave incorrectly in a large percentage of all use cases. So it just doesn't seem like that's worth doing.
Or like 60-40%.
I don't
That's
think
what
it's going to be 60-40. I think
what
it's
I
going to be
have in mind.
199. Like, I don't know of any networks where this would work. Because remember, you've got two AILs, right? How often does that even happen? Why did that happen? Right? So already it's a weird situation. And then, the two AILs, what if they're both IPv4 only? Well, that's most networks. So, I mean, hopefully it's not really most networks, but in practice, I don't know how many networks that is. So it's not clear to me that there's a significant number of use cases in the real world where this makes things better.
Yeah, there is actually there was some data on this in the thread group. I'm not sure if you can talk about that specifically, but so it does happen, and it can also be not planned or unintentional or without users even knowing. So one thing could be, well, you install a thread border router and hey, there's an Ethernet port. Let's plug something into that, and at that moment you create a second AIL if you're not connecting it back to your main network. The same is for a Wi-Fi based thread border router. For example, you plug it in, it automatically enables the Wi-Fi access point feature, and oh, well, you have a second AIL without the user ever even noticing or having anything switched off. So as soon as you don't connect the Wi-Fi to your existing SSID, and could create a new one, and then you could have a second AIL. So these are just some examples. So it's not always planned. In some case, there might be a user that plans for two AILs, wants to build a network, but that's really a small percentage.
Right.
I agree. And I was thinking about the case where given that you already have 2 or more AALs, so and if you apply a simple solution, I'm just guessing roughly that maybe you could cover, yeah, then like 50 or 60% of the cases, and there would be a long tail of cases that you don't address with the simple solution.
This feels very out of scope for this discussion.
Yeah, so in what sense? Because yeah, we don't want to get into multi-AAL solutions. Is that it? Or
No.
I'm not sure.
What I mean is that, so you're talking about something that's happening specifically in use cases that you've identified in the thread group, which I'm not even aware of those use cases. And we're talking about it in an IETF meeting, and we're talking about making changes to an IETF document to support those use cases. So before we should propose anything like that, I think we need to actually get our story straight, and that's not something we can do here. And that's the sense in which I mean that it's out of scope.
Yeah, sure. That's true. So
Yeah.
it was just examples of what could happen, and not
Yeah.
something that I've seen happening or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that it's a good discussion to have, and I'd like to have it in this working group, but I don't think we're prepared to do that right now, and so I don't think
Right.
it can go in this document.
Yeah, but I do hear that you would like to have something like a solution for that to be in a new document, right? So that seems also the best way to address this. And then what does it mean for SNAC simple, so that you need a description of maybe how it goes wrong, and maybe admitting that we can't do anything about that. Is that?
Yeah, I agree.
That's what we have. So that will be the appendix, I think. Which
I mean, remember that part of our goal here is to kind of document this problem at an IETF level. And so we don't have to, and at the IETF level, like if there are some sort of domain specific solutions that aren't standardized initially in the IETF, it's not the end of the world. For the IETF use case that we can easily imagine, the stub network is just an Ethernet or a Wi-Fi network. And so the solution that I described in the first 2 paragraphs here solves the problem quite adequately. So we don't really need something more for that use case. So I think we're okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ted, when you say in another document, do you think about an IETF document in SNAC or something else?
So when I was writing this, I was thinking about how I would solve this problem. And it looks a little bit like a routing protocol. Which maybe, so we would need to think about how we're going to do it, because, like, you know, so for the constrained network use case, we don't want to do something complicated, and it's not really particularly, like, it doesn't even need to be as fancy as Ripple, right? Like Ripple is kind of a standard routing protocol for constrained networks, but it does way more than we would need to do. What we really need to do is just share the lists of prefixes that we consider reachable. So and you know, in the particular case of thread, you kind of want to do that as a sort of an app layer thing rather than as part of the thread network data, because of the space constraints. So yeah, I think it may well make sense for us to talk about that here. But I think in order to actually answer the question you just asked, somebody needs to actually write down what we think we would do, and then we can see, is this really in scope for this working group or not? That's what I would suggest.
That's a bit fuzzy, because you can end up in 6 law as well, right? So the way they do kind of advertising proxies over route advertisement is kind of strange, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Really, yeah. Okay.
Didn't HomeNet also try to solve it?
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
I hope it's Uber, right? So.
Well, HomeNet actually sort of said, we'll do the routing using Babel ultimately, and which, you know, and then the Babel working group actually did that work. And I don't know that hasn't landed at any home routers that I know of, but it certainly could. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen, but that's really kind of, I don't think that's something we would ever want to do on a constrained network. Because Babel assumes you've got a certain amount of bandwidth, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the conclusion that I would like to claim we've drawn from this, if anybody objects, please tell me, is that we should add some documentation that describes, we basically should update this to describe things the way that these two paragraphs describe it. And we need to add the stub network state machine that does the single prefix thing. And once we've done that, then I think we have a solution for the case that we're trying to describe here. And that should be adequate. And we don't need to go any farther than that here. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think
Is
so.
anybody feeling? Yeah?
I haven't kind of mentally checked the complete state machine yet that you're defining, but
Of course.
it would be good to review it once
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have a draft or so.
Okay.
It's kind of the idea is that if you get a prefix from your IP address, basically prefix comes from SNAC router 1, then it doesn't really make sense to send packets to SNAC router 2 if that's on another AIL with that source address, because it might be the wrong one.
Right.
Yeah, I think that also depends on the use case. If your second AIL is just a single link without ISP or without anything else, it's just a SNAC router advertising its prefix there,
Mhm.
then it could still work. But yeah,
It would have to advertise a different prefix, though.
it would not have a default route also in the second AIL because it's not connected to the internet.
Right, but the important thing is that it would have to advertise a different prefix on that AIL, which is for this document that works, but for
Yeah.
thread wouldn't. So
Yeah, for this, I'm thinking about this document. Yeah, there it works.
Okay, so I just added a comment with a summary here.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next issue. We're going to start at the bottom. I guess we've switched to issues here. Should we switch back to
Sure.
pull requests? Okay, so the pull request we were looking at was multi-AIL. I think we're done with this. So we had a bunch of discussion about the MO flag thing, not only in Madrid, but also in Bangkok. And the conclusion seemed to be that trying to come up with a way to solve this isn't realistic. And so basically what that means, so this pull request adds a whole bunch of document about that solution.
Mhm.
And the problem with that is that you know, the people who've actually worked on this, like, you know, David Lamparter was participating in the discussion, and he had some previous wounds from a previous effort on this problem. Basically, people who've worked on this in the past have concluded that anything you try to do is going to fail in some stupid way. And so therefore, all you can really do is just, like, you know, we can re-advertise whatever we see, so that we're not fighting with other routers on the AIL. But if the other routers on the AIL are fighting, we can't fix that, and we shouldn't try, because it just makes things really complicated. So that means that we would say no to this pull request, and that is to say in this form. And and just update the document to say that we're going to just follow, we'll send whatever MNO bits we saw in the most recent RA we received.
Yeah,
Sounds
and
great.
then I think the idea is also then that if the SNAC router restarts and doesn't see any infrastructure router sending those bits, then it would default to 0, for example. Is that what you're suggesting? Because that's a simpler solution. Now we have a copy flag solution, basically.
Yep.
So you copy it for at most 2 or 3 hours from another SNAC router until that all that times out, and then everybody goes back to sending zeros in the end. Unless the infrastructure router comes back, of course.
Yeah, but if the infrastructure router has gone away, then the MNO bits, like if the MNO bits are not 0, it's still not going to work. So there really isn't a huge benefit to trying to maintain, because as soon as the router comes back, we're going to change our bits. So it's going to work anyway.
Kind of,
so
it was maintaining what was last seen and hoping that the infrastructure router intended that to be there. But if it's no longer there, then it's not correct information even. So whatever you do, it's not. It's never perfect. Let's say, yeah.
Exactly.
So we simplify it then. Okay.
In short, is it simply repeat the last MNO bits received from the infrastructure?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yep. And default to 0 if we haven't received any.
If not,
restart default.
leave 0 and then replicate whatever was last observed on the infrastructure link.
Do you want a time limit as well? So if somebody pulls away the infrastructure router, do you time out on that, or?
I think it's just simply repeat. That was what I took from David's. Was it David? Whoever it was that had the wounds from this in the last meeting. Was it just don't do anything smart? I guess is what I took away.
Yeah, basically, don't try to solve the problem because there isn't a solution.
Yeah. So just whatever you saw last, anything for 30 days. So then you just keep repeating what you saw last.
Well, I mean, repeating. So I don't think we even need to care about 30 days. Like because
no, I know that's what I mean.
Yeah. Just like whatever. If we received something since the last time we rebooted and it's still valid, repeat that. Otherwise, default to 0.
And it is still. What does that mean?
Sorry.
What does "and it is still valid" mean?
Well, the lifetime of the RA hasn't expired.
Okay.
What if the RA has expired and you haven't
Then
seen
it doesn't exist. We've deleted it from our list, so there isn't anything to refer to.
Right.
Okay, but in that case, what happens to the bit values then?
Oh, they go to 0 because that's the default.
Yeah. Okay, back to default. Yeah.
Yeah, the default is we always say 0 unless we have evidence to the contrary, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, that's fine, and I think this can tie in with the existing timeout description for the RAs.
Yeah. And so do we use the max flags copy time still? No. If it's
it's just like yes. I'll just summarize here.
Yeah, so you would not need that constant, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you just take it from the last seen valid RA basically, and that goes away automatically from the cache.
So I think that's our answer.
Yeah. So do we still need to kind of explain anything about this? Because I think the request was, well, is there an example? But if we are using a simpler method, then maybe the example isn't needed anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. The example is, I think, kind of just confusing. And would be even more confusing if it contradicts what we're saying here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it can be helpful, but it needs to be a good example and consistent with the
Yeah.
rules. And maybe it's not needed now if we
Oh, yeah.
make the rules simpler.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is really simple. I don't think there's any benefit to having an appendix that describes it.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna make that our conclusion.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah, do we need someone to be assigned to the new PR then, I think, or an issue?
Gonna take a crack.
Oh, you're gonna do it, Darren?
Yeah,
Thanks.
if it's fine, let's take a crack at modifying this current pull request and delete the text that's there, slap in what I think is minimal text, and see if that's right.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure the text would go in the same place is the only issue.
No, it won't.
So-
It won't be in the examples, right? It's going to be elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be a new PR, I think, because this is really in scope of adding an example in the appendix.
Okay.
So, but okay.
So good news. I think this one is not at all controversial, and we can just merge it. Does anybody object? This is the it's basically just a not exactly a typo, but a brain hiccup. So well, I guess advertisements was a typo, but yeah. So are we okay to commit this?
Yes.
I'm happy with
I'm
it.
hearing no objections. So how do we do this? Question merge. Are there? Oh yeah, right. Okay, progress. This is very exciting.
You click the little delete branch button there. That's okay. I'll clean it up.
Okay. Okay, so we now have 7 pull requests. So the hard-coded 30-minute value question. ESCO had proposed, yeah, just basically removing the extra explanation. And so, right, Jonathan made a suggestion. Oh, yeah, just to fix the closing tag alignment. So I feel like this is a safe, this is a relatively non-controversial suggestion. I'm going to just commit it if that's okay. All right, and that leaves us with this as the change. So, does anybody object to committing this?
That looks good.
Okay. All right, so we now have this, the hard-coded /64 prefix question. So we've got a suggestion from Darren. Prefix length is 64 is suitable for Slack and consistent with current implementations. Would be nice to put in that reference that we talked about for our C4291 section 2.5.1.
Okay.
So Darren, can I assign this to you?
Yep.
Great. I think we're, unless anybody objects, I think we're okay to go once that changes in. Okay, so you're assigned, you're in charge. And then the timeout-based prefix selection criteria.
Yeah, so here I also commented on the related issue.
Mhm.
Basically, if you only look at a timeout, for example, then it could be that the EULA wins over the GUA.
Mhm.
And in that case, you are not meeting the goals that we have in the document, which is, I think, connectivity with internet hosts.
Yeah.
Stated as a goal, and there's not anything about stability or the prefixes. So that seems to be the higher goal.
Mhm. Yep.
You can actually kind of offer both a EULA and a GUA. So if there are 2 or more prefixes being delegated or available, then yeah, you could say pick one GUA and one EULA, and which makes sense if the stub network technology can deal with multiple prefixes.
Mhm. Yep, I agree.
Which is
So-
also so it's maybe a bit yeah, I think keep that in mind. So I think the text was also intended to keep that in mind, so you don't necessarily have to select if you can support both. But if you have to pick one, then according to our current goals, it should be the GUA one.
Mhm.
If it meets the 30-minute lifetime requirements.
Yep, that's this text here. Okay, so are we okay to apply this suggestion to the branch?
I think I haven't read it yet, but you can go
I
ahead.
thought you wrote it.
No.
No?
I think
Oh.
there's
Yeah,
Darren.
no, I'm reading it as we speak, and it looks good to me. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so now the change is, wait, what happened? Okay, so
Yeah, okay. No, it looks good, I think. Just read it. So it's basically applying a change to change. So I can see in the last tab how it will come out. So what's on screen. Okay. Looks good, I think.
okay, yeah, the thing that I was trying to fix was the distribution, but I guess we can do that as an editorial change.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
Yeah. All right, so then we will just merge this. Okay, so we have now reviewed all of the pull requests.
Can you go back to 136 for a moment, please?
Yeah.
I just want to double check that text with everyone.
Sure. So did you update it?
Yeah.
Great.
It and committed. It just says consistent with current implementations and RFC 4291, section 251. I have to make that a reference, but
I'm confused. Oh, yep, there it is.
yeah.
Great.
I mentioned the interface identifiers. Of course, 4291 doesn't say anything about prefixes, but it does say 64-bit interface identifiers.
Yeah. I mean, as an editorial, I would probably break that up into 3 sentences, but the RFC editor will be happy to make a definitive comment on that, so we don't really need to fix it.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Cool. So should we merge this?
Yeah, let me just make that 4291 into a correct reference, not just text.
Okay. I mean, you could just go ahead and merge it, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right. So let us go back to issues.
Maybe just one question. There is also another RFC 4862 that says basically SLAC is defined for any interface ID length, and it can be n bits.
Yeah.
And then technology can define what n is basically.
Yep.
So you could make a link type technology that has another n value. So I think
Okay.
what we're just trying to say that with current technologies around, they all pick 64, right? So there's
Yeah.
no one that we know that has picked anything different.
Right. So I think that still means it's okay to refer back to 4291, which is the base of that n value. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that has the basic assumption of 64, unless otherwise specified. Yeah. So I think it's good.
Great.
Okay. So, by the way, is my screen, I guess we're all remote, so my screen probably is readable.
It's readable, yeah.
Great. All right. So, okay, so we're just these are all of the Fernando issues. I think we talked about, oh shoot, sorry about that.
Which one were you looking at?
I was looking at the one at the end of the list, which is one of Fernando's issues.
It's
So-
rewarding, right? The neighbor table or to
Yeah.
IPv6 neighbor cache.
Yeah. Hang on a second. Let me just.
Oh, okay.
reshare my
But
screen.
that's not the lowest one. It's just the lowest one on page 1.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oops.
If you want
That's
to
terrifying.
look at others, I don't know.
All right. Well, since we're looking at this,
Yeah.
So, neighbor table to IPv6 neighbor cache. I think this is a legit proposal. Does anybody object to making this change?
No.
Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because we've maybe not always taken all of the notes that we needed to, and I want to make sure that we actually don't lose track of the conclusions we've come to here. Okay, so add a state machine, I think we just covered. Use consistent caps for terms. Do we need to talk about that? Oh yeah, okay, so we actually did talk about that.
Yeah. So it's not capitalizing certain things. Yeah.
Okay, UNESCO
That's
has
kind of
this one, so lucky you. Okay, so okay, so this one doesn't actually need any work in this document.
I don't see your screen, Ted, at the moment.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Shared.
I thought you guys were still seeing it because I forgot about having to share the screen. So here we go. So
Yeah.
sorry, I glossed over the previous one accidentally. So this is just a note that we need to remember to talk about how to convert a SNAC router to a managed router, which I don't think that this says this is the future thing. We don't need to deal with it now. The lack of an architectural diagram comment, I think, is addressed by the pull request that I think this is addressed by Kieran's pull request, which Darren was going to update.
Yeah, there are two linked actually at the moment. It also, yeah, it mentions also PR of Darren of November 4.
Where do you see that?
Oh, that's there, yeah. Maybe that's already closed, I don't know. Let's see. Oh no, it's
No, these are both the same PR.
the same one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, oh, it's the same, yeah. Linked 2 times.
Yeah,
All right.
Kieran linked it to the issue when she opened the pull request, and then Darren also linked it to the issue. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can happen twice. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's one we discussed, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so and Darren's going to take care of updating that, and then
What was I? You just show me. I was finished the other one.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this earlier. You had said that you were going to update the diagram.
Okay.
So let's see if that's now officially assigned to you, Darren. I'm so
Excellent.
sorry. All right. So I feel like somebody did this, but I'm not sure.
We merged that one, didn't we?
Oh, no, I think that's part of Kieran's pull request.
Nice.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is in there basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just link that so that we get this closed at the right time. Let's do this.
So you can press development, there's a cogwheel, and then select the PR from there.
Give us all the PRs, including the closed
Yeah.
ones. Yay. Okay. So that should take care of that.
Although I don't know if all the words are in there, like prefix or renumbering.
That's interesting. So Darren, I just assigned that one to you so that you have a reminder to check to see if PFIX has been fixed. I think
Okay.
advertisement was, so we're good on that. But I mean, the bottom line though is that that's not really important because the RFC editor catches stuff like that. Wasting a lot of working group time thinking about stuff like that is actually not a good use of time.
I agree.
So sync constant names. Where did we land with on this?
I disagree with that, Ted. The way I use documents, I always use search to jump around.
Oh,
so
that's a
if
fair
it's
point.
misspelling, then the search function won't find the instance.
That is a good point.
Yeah, it should be AI search that does find them, but
yeah,
I didn't have that yet.
That would probably find a lot of stuff you didn't want.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I don't see anybody having done this.
Yeah, so there was no PR yet here.
Yeah.
I think it's about doing syncing the names basically use the same parameter values wherever they are the same.
Okay, does anybody want to volunteer to work on this?
Oh, I can volunteer if you like.
Thank you.
It would mean that also the term beacon would not be used if we go for this. But although we can give it the name beacon if you think that's better. But
Yeah, so the reason to say beacon, I don't know. That's just what I wrote in my code when I wrote the code. So I'm not sure that there's a reason to call it that. Maybe it's just confusing.
yeah, it's more something used at link layers, for example. Typically
Yep.
have also beacons, so it could be confused with
Well,
that.
I mean, technically a beacon is a lighthouse, but
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, but
So we can still decide like, hey, this is yeah, fine. We introduced the term, so it's fine.
Mhm.
But it's
no,
not,
I think it's fine to just call it a multicast array.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay.
It's a periodic multicast array.
Okay.
Okay. So we have taken notes there. Okay, so Esco, you've done a bunch of thinking about this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're willing, well, actually, we need the state machine though. So, oh well, this is actually assigned to you now. So, are you okay with keeping it for now?
Yeah, I was just thinking about case multiple. Yeah. So we did have now a PR for this, was that right? Because there was something about the selection of EULA versus GUA.
Yeah. So, yeah, you had already. I think we had some discussion about this in the multi-AIL scenario. Remember, we were talking about how this would all work. So this isn't actually, this pull request doesn't actually address the problem. So I would say, no, we don't currently have a pull request for that. So if you want, given that I probably need to write the state machine, I could take this one over. Up to you.
Yeah, first wanted to check if the previous PR we looked at, if that addresses it. It basically says, okay, if you're a SNAC router and you're doing PD and there are multiple options, right? And you have a thread network or constraint network, then you pick the GUA one. If you can
we committed.
have more, yeah, I think we looked at it and did we commit it? Probably.
I think so.
So this is addressing that exact same issue, it seems. So this is
Yeah.
not talking about multi-AIL here. It's just one SNAC router sees, hey, there are multiple available.
Mhm.
That's how it looks like. Maybe I'll just briefly check the mailing list, what that was. Oh yeah, that was my mail. Yeah, I think that was this GUA versus EULA thing, and I think we now resolved that.
Yeah, we added. Yeah, this was the pull request about timeout based prefix selection, I think.
Yeah, which is no longer timeout based, actually.
Yeah, right. So when multiple prefixes are available for delegation, the SNAC router must select prefixes based on the following criteria. Okay, so let's go back to the issue. That's this one. Yeah, so this is sort of dealt with by this text. What this text doesn't do is talk about what if two stub routers both get separate prefix delegations. So, but that's something that I was going to handle in the state machine. So,
Yeah.
so I think the remaining work here probably needs to be done by me. If that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine, I think. And so you could have two stub routers on the same AIL that get different prefixes delegated, for example, or on different AILs as well. What I mean is different types, let's say. So one gets a GUA and the other one might get a EULA. I'm not sure how logical that is, if that even will happen, but in theory it could happen, right? So
Yeah.
if the router is out of GUAs to delegate and it starts delegating EULAs, or vice versa.
Yeah. So So I just basically annotated that like if in the case where we see a ULA prefix on infrastructure, or sorry, on the stub network, if a SNAC router gets a GUA that it could configure on the stub network, it does so. Okay, so I think this one's handled.
By the way, the last thing you wrote is kind of one of the things I had in mind for, let's say, how to select the good AIL, let's say, if you have multiple. So one might be the one where the home router lives and gets prefix delegation. This is nice. It gives you some proof like, hey, this is the good AIL. And the other one is just Ethernet link with nothing on it. But of course, that doesn't work in the case that you have an IPv4 only home network, and then things are different again. Then you need to rely on default route or whatever. So it's going to be pretty complex all in all.
Right. The bad news is if you have an IPv4 only network with a router on it, it's going to always advertise a default route. So, because that's just the way IPv4 routers tend to work, like customer edge routers. So, yeah. But on the other hand, if you have a network that doesn't have an IPv4 router on it, then that is to say it really doesn't have a DHCP server on it, then you'll get a IPv4 link local address, and that could be an indication that that stub network is not not an infrastructure network. So yeah, I mean, there are definitely some things we could some heuristics we could figure out that would make things work in those cases. But I think we should still keep that discussion as a sort of different scope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so you had in mind that you thought it would be nice to add some more motivation, Esco. Would you mind proposing some text?
Well, this came from the review from Fernando.
Oh, this was Fernando.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I'm not sure that I actually believe Fernando here. Okay, so introduction. This document describes a set of practices, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
basically
so
nothing about the user here, it seems. Maybe that's the comment. Oh, there is usability, of course, in 1.2.
yeah. I guess I feel like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet items describing motivations for doing this that a lot of people do seem to find compelling. So it may be just that none of these are compelling use cases that Fernando cares about, which is totally legitimate. But I don't know that we really need to solve that problem. Like basically what this means is Fernando reads this document and says, oh, I don't care about any of these, and puts it down and doesn't do it, which is exactly that's the correct outcome. So unless anybody wants to propose some more text, I would just say this is
Yeah, I think the question was also like, all these things we would like to solve, isn't that what the internet protocol was invented for? So you can have different link layers with different speeds, and it all works together thanks to the internet protocol.
Thank you. That's the issue.
Yeah. So I guess the speed difference is even more than what the internet protocol was designed to do.
Oh, no, not at all. No, Fernando is exactly correct, except that this document is using the internet protocol to solve the problems that we're talking about in the introduction. What he's missing is that we're doing this instead of bridging between the two networks. So
Yeah, that's because bridging would not work, I'm guessing.
exactly. Yeah. Like you can't bridge between an 802.15.4 network and a Wi-Fi network. It's just you would have a massive flow control problem.
Well, you could say that like IPv6 was not really designed to run on the 802.15.4 network in the first place.
That's not really the point though. And so we're using 6LoWPAN. That solves that problem. This is just solving the don't bridge between incompatible media problem.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll take this one. I think I understand Fernando's issue now, and I can address it unless anybody else is eager to do this.
Not really.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So clarify attaching the stub networks to stub networks. Okay, so we actually talk about this in the document, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we say right here, you can yeah, the document doesn't say you can't do that, it's just that that's not the point. And we don't do anything to make that work.
Yeah. So it looks like out of scope here. Yeah.
So unless anybody objects, I'm going to close this with this comment. Okay, so now we're on page 1 of issues. So this is already dealt with. So Fernando had pointed out that the 8-bit does not imply DHCPv6 is available, which is true. But the reason that the prefix is not considered usable is not, it doesn't matter whether DHCPv6 is present. A prefix that doesn't have the 8-bit, a prefix that does have the 8-bit set is not usable by some devices and therefore is not suitable, regardless of whether DHCPv6 is available. So
Yeah, but I
so we
think the
could add
comment was not about that, so that I posted a remark for that. So it was not really about the suitability. It was more like the claim that if A is not set, then the DHCPv6 is being used. So that's not correct, because it could be in a minor percentage of cases, it could be manually administered.
Yeah, or it could just be saying this prefix is on link. So you should not send packets for this prefix to the router. You should do neighbor discovery. So yeah. So I think your proposed text here is great. Can I assign this to you to do a pull request?
Yep, that's fine.
Thanks. Right. So router unreachability detection. Okay, so I was actually in the process of answering this question in the state machine that I'm in the middle of writing. So I think I'm going to just assign this to myself.
So that will give some more details then about the monitoring that needs to be done.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So unreachability, clarify SNAC router. Yeah, so so in the state machine code that or the state machine text that I'm writing, I refer back to RFC what is it, 4191, about no, sorry, 4861, about sending router solicitations and so on. And so so that state machine should actually talk about setting up the listener. Let's see. So I'm going to address this in the state machine. So that means we don't need to address it somewhere else, unless, so you actually proposed some text ESCO, but it then looked like that text got removed.
Yeah, it's in the comment on top here. It's basically the quoted text just above Jonathan's comment.
So unless anybody objects, I'm going to assign this to me. Since that needs to go in that state machine. So this is more of Fernando's comments. That's here.
So it's basically saying that we seem to describe a requirement on processing RAs, and that's already what you do anyway as part of SLAC. I think that's the comment. So
Yeah.
you don't need to specify it here. You just refer to the SLAC processing, which is somewhere, defined somewhere else.
Yeah, but we're not doing Slack.
Yeah, it's not the same, I guess.
Yeah.
5.123.
So I think this comment is sort of technically incorrect. I mean, there will be some text in the state machine code about that, but
yeah, so you can reuse maybe the same functionality if you implement it, but it's still for a different purpose here.
okay, so hang on here. Here we go. Okay, so so I'm going to assign this to myself based on this being part of the RA state machine. Okay, so we've already decided that we're
But it's already in the state machine, right? That's section 5.123.
section 5.123.
Yeah, that's already the text description of the state machine. Maybe it needs to go in the other state machine as well. I don't know.
Well, so this is the point that yeah, we have a bunch of text about router advertisements. Yeah. Yeah. So right. So actually, as I read this, I'm thinking, okay, actually, the router advertisement state machine is basically this. This is in a sense the router advertisement state machine. So I may need to merge the work that I started earlier today with this to make it all work. So yeah, we already have text for this. Is your point?
Yeah, the comment was the existing functionality. It's kind of duplicates what Slack is already doing. But well, that seems to me like an implementation concern. So you can let the same code do it or have different functions, or it doesn't matter.
Right, but realistically, the stub router code is almost certainly not doing not doing Slack. So
Yeah, so if it's something else, then we don't need to copy exactly what Slack is doing, right? So
exactly.
we can just have our own selection criteria.
Yep.
But again,
Okay.
maybe there was some synergy between the two, but that's fine.
Okay, so this the SNAC router MO bits thing.
Yeah, so this will change again if we simplify. So this was the PR about the example about the copying behavior, but we're going to change that. So I think we said that we don't want an extensive appendix example for this.
Mhm.
So if we make it simpler, then the thought is, well, we don't need this example, so we can say like, let's not do it. Just make it simpler. Because I think the quoted text will then be removed as well with the max flags copy time, so that will be changed to go back to the simple default of 0. Yeah, that 111 is already selected.
That's closed. Oh, Darren merged it
Yeah.
long ago.
7 minutes ago.
Wait, I'm confused.
That was the one,
Oh,
right?
that's the comment. That's yeah. I thought that we just worked on it. I'm like, what's going on here? Okay. So
Yeah. So I yeah, with that one, is that the one? Did I just close or
Just close it.
Yeah, as we discussed, and I'm working
Yeah.
on the text that actually fix it.
okay. So there will be a new pull request.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Needs to be new one. Otherwise, it would be really confusing.
Yeah.
So this is assigned to you. I guess yeah. We're now maybe revisiting things that we already. Oh right, that's because we started at the bottom of this list earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, so this looks like another observation from Fernando. Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually not how we implement it at Apple, and I think actually the thread spec doesn't basically, this Fernando is assuming that stub routers don't have stable storage, but in fact, they do. So this comment really kind of doesn't apply.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't read the pointers here, so I didn't even consider the question.
Mhm.
I think the idea is that normally for ULA prefixes you have some kind of input values that will then apply an algorithm and then generate some outcome, right? So then you can even do it in such a way that it's a stable outcome, so always the same.
Right.
And you can persistently store some of the things that were used for the generation. And the last thing I read about this EULA prefix generation, that's probably a much older RFC, so that's the oldest one I think about that. So that mentions a specific algorithm that you can use. And this, yeah, I think this refers to a newer RFC that I have never seen before, but and it seems to be much more recent. Yeah, 2023. So that if that's EULA related, that would be new for me at least.
There we go. First stub router.
There's two RFCs that are new from 2023. Yeah. So I'm guessing that we didn't apply anything of what's written there.
So
you mentioned specific category 3 in RFC 9415.
yeah. Are you guys seeing the thing that I'm scrolling through at high speed?
It's a bit blurry.
Sorry. Okay, so category 3.
You're there.
The goal of the following is to produce change when the context changes.
So I guess he kind of wants us to pick a category and then recommend that or so. So the basically algorithm category for how to generate these things.
Yeah. I don't think this is really applicable.
No, I think it could actually be because it wasn't, of course, before for ULAs. They had a particular algorithm, and now this is newer material, so that might say somewhere, okay, any protocol must pick a category or whatever. Well, we don't know, right? So it could be anything in there in the text that we somehow need to comply with.
Right. The problem is this text is just not really, yeah, it's talking about the same thing that we're talking about, but it's like it's making a whole bunch of demands that aren't actually what we're doing. It's specifying things that aren't specified in the RFC in the ULA RFC, and we don't actually say to. We don't even try to do the thing that it's saying about context, and we would have to add a long specification of how to generate context, which I have no idea how to do and no intention really of doing, unless somebody else wants to do that. Like what is like this text here? In order to avoid storing transient numeric identifiers computed for each context in memory, the following algorithm blah blah blah, using a function based on context. And then it says context is a concatenation of all the elements that define a given context. What are those? I don't know.
I guess you
I don't think.
first need to study on this document. It's, by the way, informational, so we can safely ignore it.
I mean, no, I think it's probably it's a document that's worth. It's good that they did this, but I don't think that we are actually recommending to do this. What we're recommending is to just generate a different identifier for every context and store it in stable storage. So,
yeah, I think what we do say is, well, generate a EULA. So it could be that you have to comply to particular rules for EULA generation. I know
exactly.
there's an algorithm also defined there, and that has inputs, and then a EULA comes out. But
Yep.
okay, that's not always exactly applied in implementations, I know, but yeah. I'm also not sure what to do right now with this. It says that, okay, in 9416, the RFC, that's the best current practice, would basically require us to say something about the recommended algorithm. That's what he's saying. So 9416 is fairly short, so that's good for us. I'm not sure what it's exactly saying, but yeah.
Yeah, this is actually not really talking about what we're doing. So it mentions these cases. The closest to that would be IPv4 or IPv6 identification values, but it's not clear to me that these even apply. Yeah, no, that's fragment identifiers. Yeah. So no, this is really not talking about what we're doing here. So while this is a BCP, it doesn't apply to the text that we're adding. That's not to say that what we're doing isn't close to what's being talked about here, but this is already addressed by, well, let's see what, yeah, no. So that's RC 4193. So not referenced in this document at all. So I think we're okay with just using RC 4193 as the reference here, and trying to shoehorn this in would be kind of difficult.
Oh yeah, I don't know what does it imply. So that's not clear to me. So what would be the implication of, for example, being compliant to this best practice? Do we need to do anything different, and what?
So it's saying that we should reference category 3 of RFC 9415. But yeah, no, we're not doing SNAC. So
Well, it's not SNAC, but it's basically the topic is basically any protocol specification that generates, for example, a transient numeric identifier, so something random.
yeah, but this isn't a transient identifier.
So we could say it's not transient, and therefore it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll first need to know what do they mean with transient, actually.
Transient means vergankelijk.
Vergankelijk, yes, but
or tijdelijk.
If you keep it for 10 years, that's not transient. But when does it start to become?
It's transient if you're, I mean, an example is like a port number that you're using for a DNS query is transient, right? The identifiers that you use for IP fragments are transient. Interface identifiers that are not intended to be stable are transient. But here, the ULA identifier is actually intended to be stable, so it's not
Yeah.
transient. So
Yeah. So based on that, you would say it's not really applicable then. Okay.
so
Well, I think we should reply back with that observations and then see if any feedback comes back from him or others.
okay. Do you want to take that on?
Yep, you can do that.
Thank you. All right. So So we already talked about this, and we have a proposed way forward, I think. Wait. Yeah, right. This is actually kind of being discussed in issue 139, so I think we can close this one. Anybody object? Okay.
Sorry, I was muted there, Ted. Was that closing the
Oh.
issue or the pull request? I wasn't able to catch up on it. I think it was the issue. Is that right?
That was an issue, and the reason it's
Oh.
closed is because we have a newer issue that talks about it, on which we've now put conclusions.
Okay, there was that issue? What was the issue number that you just closed?
Sorry.
It's 115, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
115.
there is a submission to, like, there is a pull request for 115.
Yeah.
What were the other two issues? I'm just going to modify the title of the pull request so it points back to the other issues.
Yeah, so it's 139.
Okay, 139.
So I just added that.
Okay. There you go. So we'll see if that pull request still is applicable to issue 139.
Well, yeah, I just made it applicable. So
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. I added it
But-
the other way.
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the current text here is probably needs work, but yeah. Okay. Okay, so right. So this is actually an interesting thing that Fernando's talking about. Wow, this got some good discussion. Okay, so
Yeah, I think the comment was also why deprecate it if the host can
Right. Yeah.
pick
I'm
the
right.
best one.
Right now, I'm just responding to Jen's comment.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So, but separately from that, the reason that we're deprecating another prefix is actually because this is actually coming out of the thread spec. And so Fernando is actually, his observation is actually correct. We don't need to do this if we're not doing thread. Because the reason we're doing it in thread is because we have limited space to store this information. So I think the only reason to say that we might want to deprecate it is just because yeah, I don't actually. I basically I think Fernando is right here, and we should probably not have this in the SNAC router document. It remains in the thread spec because of the space constraints, but for the SNAC router document, there's actually no reason to do that.
Yeah, it's unless
Oh,
you want
wait a second, though. Wait a
consider
second.
constrained networks as a stub network, then in that case, there could be a reason to not want to publish too many things there.
Yeah, so the thing is, Fernando's assuming that there is a preference, but Jen's pointed out that there isn't for Ref64.
Oh, the text is a bit small here.
Oh, actually, I can
better.
just switch to HTML, and that'll be easier to read anyway.
Yeah, better.
Yeah, so
yeah, so there's no internal preference in here, which means on the stub network, is there a way to convey
there's
the
no way
preference?
there's no way to represent this. CLC prefix length code, scale lifetime. Yeah, so if we want to actually have this ability to differentiate between Pref64 prefixes, we almost certainly have to use the lifetime.
Yeah, although I think the point here was about the advertisements on the stub network. So you're assuming
Right.
that Graph64 could be advertised on the stub networks as well.
Right. So the thing is, like, so in thread we do have a preference
Yeah.
for the prefix, but that's not an IETF document. So so I think what we should say is if a preference can be expressed, here's how you do it. If a preference can't be expressed, here's how you do it. And one way to deal with that is with the lifetime. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really see any way to solve this if we're using Pref64 to advertise this stuff. Okay, we're actually getting really close to the end of our time slot, I think. Is that right? Or are we?
No, like 4 minutes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we should wrap up.
Yeah, we should wrap up. I actually need a bio break and have a meeting coming in 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Let's call it the end.
yeah.
We'll meet again.
Yeah, let me just.
Hold it. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not. I had some issues with the scheduling tool. It won't do it says it's multi-day sort of scheduling, but it doesn't do it. So,
But at least the next meeting has been scheduled. I saw, right?
yeah, meeting is scheduled. I'll schedule the one as well. I guess we can go comments and pull requests. We'll make more project progress before next week too.
Maybe before closing, I want to check whether we will have a meeting in Montreal in November, because we need to do some.
Yes.
So, so I'm not going to be in Montreal. But that doesn't mean we can't have a meeting. But on the other hand, we could just do interims.
Yes.
I think this is actually, because what we're doing when we at IETF generally is very much like an interim. And so if we don't actually need time on the schedule, why allocate it?
Yeah. So if we can finish that by 4 interims, I think probably we can. I don't know, Darren.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I would suggest, you have to schedule interim 2 weeks in advance, I think. So let's just keep scheduling interims until we are done. And or obviously we can skip times when we when it doesn't make sense, or if we're just tired and we want to take a break. But whether we can get it done in 4 interims or not, I don't know. I'd like it if we could, but I don't want to assume that. So I think it's safest to just schedule additional interims and then cancel them if we don't need them.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll schedule the rest of them for September. That'll bring us out to October. See how far we are by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah, thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.